Shakuntala Devi, Sherni and Jalsa. Three brilliant films released over the past 3 years, all headlined by Vidya Balan, and all of them backed by Abundantia Entertainment, whose CEO Vikram Malhotra is here with us today, along with Vidya herself, to talk about this successful collaboration that they have going on for the past 3 years. Hi Vikram, hi Vidya, welcome to News 18.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Let me start with asking you, taking you back to where this whole journey basically started. Was this organic, or did you kind of plan that you're going to do a bunch of films together with like women-centric stories?
I wish we could have planned it like that, but I don't think it, I think it just so happened that Vikram was producing stories that excited me. And thankfully, firstly, he offered them to me. So we've done three very different films that I'm very proud of, because Shakuntala, Sherni and Jalsa have nothing in common, except him and me. It's fantastic storytelling. The genres are completely different. And for me as an actor, it's been very, very fulfilling. I'm really a greedy actor, and Abundantia Entertainment has been feeding that hunger abundantly. So I have no complaints. I hope that this collaboration grows stronger and stronger going forward.
Right. Vikram, I mean, we all know Vidya, the standard that she has in terms of the films that she does, and she set a benchmark in the industry. When you come up with like scripts to offer to her, projects to collaborate, I mean, how do you know, okay, this is something I can speak to her about? And how does the whole process happen? And how is it that we have three films back to back that the two of you have collaborated on?
See, to begin with, I think the kind of synergy that we have in the rhythms of the stories that we tell, and the craft and the amazing skill that Vidya possesses and brings to screen with every new character and story is very strong. And then there is complete and inherent trust on each other in the kind of work that we decide to collaborate on. Apart from that, it's a matter of immense privilege as well as pressure every time that we come up with a script and decide to take it to Vidya, because I may have never said this out aloud, but I have always believed that Vidya is not just this amazing artist that we see on screen, but is also one of the finest judges of scripts and stories. So it is this mutual trust and rhythm that keeps getting us back together. And I have to say, this is our first port of call for everything that we feel deserves to be brought to our attention.
Right. Vidya, tell me something about, say maybe the on-ground experience of working with Abundantia, and what about their work ethic makes you come back to them and work on the ground? Yeah.
One, what I really appreciate is that they have the courage to pick up subjects that most people would shy away from. Sherni is a prime example of that. It was so out of the box, and yet not once did Vikram bat his eyelid and seem. He always seemed so sure about making it and about giving it the right mounting, which is very important. And finally, we did the first schedule before the pandemic struck, and then we had to come back to Bombay. 6 months passed, and everyone had questions in their minds about the way forward and everything. But we went back for the second schedule, and I have to say that Abundantia Entertainment and Vikram and his entire team, I think, left no stone unturned to make sure that we had a conducive environment and set to giving our best. That is, and I'm saying, of course, Shakuntala and of course, Jalsa too. But I saw that was a wonderful, Sherni was a wonderful example of how they give it their all, and you're greedy to work with producers like that because you want your film to reach people the world over. And then the call to release Shakuntala on OTT, on Amazon Prime Video, it was, I remember when I had that first conversation with Vikram, I was like, wow, I hadn't even considered it. This was new. The idea was new, but I had the faith that Vikram would only do what was right for the film. And then we've had 3 releases on OTT, and all of them have been loved. So it's not just the fact that they pick up different kinds of stories to tell, but I think the directors feel very supported, and they really give it their best, and therefore push everyone else to do their best.
Oh, thank you.
So, no, I mean it. I mean every word. And I have to tell you, on set, there was on Sherni, for example, we were working in a very strange environment, right? It was very new for everyone back on set, suddenly in PPE kits and in masks and maintaining social distancing. It was easier because we were in the jungle, but nonetheless, everyone felt, I think, safe, which is very important. Even, when the first lockdown happened, a few of our team members were still stuck in Bhopal, I remember, and Vikram and his team took great care to make sure those people were safe and reached home safely, even though the lockdown had been announced. It hadn't been effected yet, but these are things you appreciate. They take great care of their people.
Right. Also, Vidya, how empowering does it feel to have a production house back the kind of stories that you want to be part of and puts women at the forefront?
I think it's wonderful, but I think they are also, they have a passion for fantastic stories, unusual stories, unconventional stories. And that's where I think our paths meet. I'm greedy to do different work every single time. And thankfully, the universe has just brought us together. It wasn't planned, it's just so happened. But it feels wonderful that they're backing, I can't say this enough, that they're backing different kinds of stories and not just women-led stories. If you look at the kind of films they're doing, it's, of course, a lot of, I'd say, they're doing an equal number of women-led and male-led stories, which makes me very happy because that's what we want the industry, to have at some point, equal number of female and male-led films.
And I just want to add that our value system of enabling and providing platforms to storytellers doesn't have a filter of whether they're women-led or they're men-led. We are fortunate that stories that have such strong women in the lead that we are able to take them to actors like Vidya and Shefali and Sanya in the past is just an attribute to, I guess, the DNA that we have as a studio that allows these stories to find us. And more power to people who bring these stories to us and choose us and give us the opportunity to take these amazing stories to the world.
Right. But tell me this, Jalsa, Sherni, Shakuntala Devi were all OTT releases, right? Were they by virtue of the pandemic, or would you think that they would be as equally a success story if they were released in theaters?
See, first things first, my belief is that good stories, powerfully told, find their audience irrespective of the medium or the screen that they're on. We've recently seen examples in the Hindi film industry of conventionally small budgeted films break through and do blockbuster business. Equally, we've seen films like the ones we've done together find a massive audience all over the world by virtue of going on to streaming platforms. All 3 of these films were written and took to production and were completed to be theatrical experiences, but each one of them coincidentally came at a certain point in time where there were either complete shutdowns or partial shutdowns of theaters. Vidya spoke to you about Shakuntala Devi and the decision that we took then. I remember it was mid-April in 2020 that I picked up the phone on her and said that, you know what, there's an opportunity. And at that point in time, no film had skipped theaters and had gone to streaming platforms because we didn't know where the pandemic was headed. Was it 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, as it eventually turned out? We didn't know. But what we were both sure of was that we wanted our films, and continue to believe that we wanted our films to be served to the customer in the most fresh, the most relevant manner possible. And I'm happy to say that in great measure, thanks to a partner like Amazon Prime Video, we've managed to take these films to the rightful audience that they deserved. Would they have been as successful as they have been? Definitely. The audience love, the critical acclaim that all of these films have got has been, even if I say so myself, some of the highest that I've seen in recent times. And it would have been no different had had they to be experienced on a larger screen with more people sitting around.
Right. Vidya, are you missing
I
seeing
remember,
yourself?
sorry, after Shakuntala released, so many people told us that, if it had released in the theaters, it would have done 100 crore plus. And just hearing that was music to our ears. But we were getting to take our film to 100 plus countries and 190 countries and territories through Amazon Prime Video. So, I think it got balanced out somehow. We want our work to be watched by everyone. And in that sense, I think we're medium agnostic.
Right. Okay. So I was going to ask you, are you missing seeing yourself on the big screen? But
no, for sure. But I think with Shakuntala, that was the best decision. Again, with Sherni, it was meant to be a theatrical. But I think in the case of Jalsa, we all agreed that it was. We set out wanting it to be a theatrical, but soon enough, we felt like, we'd also tasted blood with Shakuntala and Sherni. We received love from all over the world, right? So we felt also Jalsa with its universal theme and a very universal style of storytelling, if there is something like that. We just thought that Jalsa should be on Amazon Prime Video. And we benefited and how. But yes, I'd love to see myself on the big screen soon, inshallah. I don't know when, but I want it all.
of course, why not? Also, tell me something. When there's a woman at the center of a story, or it is about women in traditionally in Indian cinema. I mean, if you talk about mainstream commercial cinema, it's usually there's a certain amount of budget that there is invested in it. Obviously, of late we've seen Gangubai as an example, which was mounted on a large scale and has also done well at the box office, but it's still an exception. Do you see that changing in the future as makers of films about women?
Each film deserves its own budget. I don't think there's a formula for a film where the protagonist is a woman versus the protagonist being a man. Let me take you back to technically what was our first collaboration together in 2012, a film called Kahani.
Right.
Kahani is considered by watchers of the business of cinema, by analysts, as a film that actually opened the floodgates, not just for a certain kind of storytelling, but also for the so-called women-led cinemas in terms of the box office that it did. It literally broke through. For stories, budgets need to be what the vision of the creator is. Budgets need to be what the conviction of the backer is. Budgets need to be the best actor that they can find. It is not about, we don't have feasibility studies that are looking at the rearview mirror and saying, this actor's, that film in that genre did this much, so therefore we must extrapolate this to the new film that we are doing. It's all about looking ahead and not sort of going by these benchmarks, because if these held true, films won't flop. It's very different. In fact, to your point, I don't believe there is anything called mainstream commercial cinema in India anymore. And if anything, the last 2 years of the pandemic have only accelerated that change in audience behavior. Anything is mainstream or nothing is mainstream.
Okay. Okay. But then that brings me to the point that I wanted to ask you this, Vidya, this specifically. We still see the most successful big box office number earners, films like Pushpa or an RRR, where the woman's role is negligible. We've been talking about women-centric films for a long time, but then do you realistically see it changing in the foreseeable future, where a film with a woman at the center will actually do that kind of business?
Yeah, for example, I'll go back to one of my own films. The Dirty Picture did, um, I don't remember the numbers now, Vikram, would you remember? It did insane business at that time, which was unheard of for a woman-led film. So it really depends on, people enjoy going to the theaters to watch the more masala films, right? Slightly larger than life, films that have scale. Of course, they go to the theater to watch all kinds of films, but that gets you a wider audience. So it really depends on the film, I think. And having said that, we've been bridging the gap slowly but surely. So I am very, not just hopeful, I know that there will come a day when our films will also do that kind of business.
And not too far away. I mean, the
Yes.
trends are already for us to see. If you look at Jalsa, Jalsa was trending #1 on Amazon Prime Video, and those are hard numbers. They're just not softer creative feedback, ahead of several films that were fronted by men. So that's not to say that's a direct conversion to box office, but it certainly does show that
Indicative.
that in terms of numbers, it's a direct indication of the quantums increasing virtually every film.
And who knew that Telugu films dubbed in Hindi would do this kind of business? There was no precedent for that. But look at the kind of business they're doing. 5 years ago, none of us would have believed this before a Bahubali.
Yes.
So I think nothing is impossible.
On that note, Vidya, are you looking at doing a pan-India film, which is the word these days?
I know, I don't set out to do anything, honestly. I just sit and wait. And then, of course, I've been very fortunate that exciting opportunities have landed in my lap, and then I've made the most of it. So, yeah, like I keep saying, I am greedy and I want more. I want more and more and more, better roles, bigger films, more success, lots of love from all over the world, from all over the country. So yes, pan-India film, welcome.
Great. Also, between Abundantia and Vidya Balan, any new collaboration to look forward to?
There's always work being written for Vidya Balan at Abundantia Entertainment. Always. There's an engine at work which loves to create and bring stories and storytellers that we want to take to Vidya. So absolutely, why not?
Great. One last question, Vikram. A little bit about the upcoming slate of films that you have.
There's an exciting and diverse slate that's in development right now. It's headlined by Ram Setu, which comes out on Diwali this year. There's the remake of Surya Potra, which Sudha, who directed the original, is also helming for us in Hindi. The remake of Angamali Diaries, which is presently filming, and lots of other exciting stuff which you will hear about maybe in a week or two.
Oh, that's soon. Great. Exciting time. Vidya, anything you would like to tell me about what you're working on next?
I'm doing a film with the director of Shakuntala Devi, and that's all I'm at liberty to say at this point. So we shall leave it at that.
Right. Okay, great. Thank you so much for your time, Vidya. Vikram,
Thank you,
lovely
Boni.
chatting. All the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you.